No, you're not going to believe this. Netflix thought they were finally done with Meghan Markle. After pouring millions into 2 seasons of With Love, Meghan, a show that barely left a scratch on the ratings, they were ready to just wash their hands and move on. The vibe inside the building? Let's just shove this thing out, tick it off the books, and pretend it never happened. The reshoots were wrapped. Editors were basically living in the studio, gulping coffee and pulling all-nighters to patch together a watchable second season. Even the marketing budget was slashed in half. The message was clear: release it, forget it, bury it. But then, oh honey, just when they thought the Meghan saga was dying down, it exploded. While cleaning out Meghan's personal office at Netflix HQ, yes, she had her own little office there, like she was some A-list Hollywood showrunner, the IT team stumbled upon something they were absolutely not prepared for. Hidden deep in her digital folders were a series of neatly labeled audio files. Not production notes, not voiceovers. Nope. These were raw, unfiltered, rant-filled recordings, and not just a few clips. This was an entire vault. Turns out Meghan had been keeping what she called her private diary. Only, let's be real, it wasn't private, and it wasn't exactly a diary. This was a collection of emotional outbursts, full-on accusations, and verbal takedowns of some of the most powerful names in Hollywood, including Netflix's own top dogs, Ted Sarandos and Greg Peters. The first file they opened, titled Podcast Cut Greg. And inside, oh my God, Meghan went off on Peters. She accused him of being sexist, controlling, and completely dismissive of her vision for the show. She said Netflix's leadership was basically a boys' club of misogynists who gaslit her creativity and tore her down at every opportunity. And here's the kicker. It wasn't just random venting. These files were organized, like scarily organized. She had intros, outros, perfectly segmented rants, basically ready-to-air podcast episodes. The timestamps and working titles, all lined up for her upcoming podcast, which she was planning to drop in 2026. That's when Netflix's mood shifted from, ugh, she's annoying, to we are going to war. In another recording, she fumed about how key scenes with Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom were cut from With Love, Meghan Season 2. According to her, those scenes would have humiliated Donald Trump and sent a strong message about progressive leadership. She claimed Netflix caved under pressure and watered down her political statements. Then came the biggest bombshell: her rants about Ted Sarandos himself. In one recording, she straight up called him two-faced, accusing him of smiling in public while secretly sabotaging her career behind the scenes. She alleged that he personally approved cutting her political cameos and, even worse, quietly started distancing Netflix from her brand without saying a word to her. And she wasn't whispering these thoughts. Oh no, these were explosive monologues clearly designed to drop the moment her contract ended. But the part that made Netflix's legal team choke on their coffee? She had copies, both digital and physical, of these recordings stored on company property. The minute the IT team realized these were labeled for public release, it was all hands on deck. Emergency legal meetings. Ted Sarandos reportedly blindsided and fuming. Every piece of content Meghan had touched at Netflix was being reviewed under a microscope. This wasn't a breakup. It was the start of a war. And Meghan? She didn't flinch. She was already doubling down, planning to launch the podcast anyway. Her logic? The more controversy, the bigger the headlines. Just like that viral pregnancy video years ago, she believed these tapes would set the internet ablaze. But this time, the stakes were so much higher. Inside Netflix, panic mode. The PR team started drafting just-in-case statements. The legal team combed through the tapes, trying to see if she'd broken any laws. Spoiler, not yet. But they knew one thing. She was holding these recordings like they were nuclear launch codes, and she wasn't bluffing. And here's the part that really stung. Meghan had been handed a Hollywood dream deal. Production credit. Her own show. A personal office. Partial creative control. That's rare. But instead of just making TV, she was spending her time documenting grievances and plotting, well, let's just call it a media counterattack. The paranoia inside Netflix was real. Editors were going back through With Love, Meghan Season 2, terrified she'd planted landmines for them. Production schedules and scripts were being cross-checked, just in case she decided to spin something later. Meanwhile, her work emails and chat logs were quietly reviewed. Not for gossip, but for self-protection. And what they found? Yikes. Meghan had gone to war with the writing team over inserting political cameos, demanding a dinner scene with Kamala Harris and Gavin Newsom, saying it would represent progressive unity. The directors and most of the team pushed back, not for political reasons, but because it just didn't fit the show's light, romantic tone. She took it as a personal attack, accusing them of silencing her voice and being too afraid to take risks. By the final weeks of production, no one even knew who was in charge anymore. The show was a patchwork job, pieced together by editors who, in many cases, had never even met her. But here's what sent Netflix over the edge. This wasn't just her venting into a mic. This was a carefully structured campaign. Each file had a name, a target, and a purpose. Netflix Boys Club, They Cut My Power, Fake Feminist, Greg the Gatekeeper. She wasn't just keeping receipts, she was producing episodes of revenge. Publicly, Netflix stayed silent. No statements, no sources close to the situation leaking to the press. But behind closed doors, they were already planning her permanent exit. No renewal, no spin-offs, no promo beyond what their contract required. Once season 2 dropped, they were cutting the cord for good. Only, Meghan wasn't planning to wait. On her private Instagram stories, she started posting teasers. Not obvious ones. Oh, she's too smart for that. We're talking blurred images of audio waveforms, shots of her in a recording booth, captions like, "The truth always comes out." Her fans didn't know what it meant yet. But Netflix? They knew exactly what was brewing, and it was ugly. See, Meghan was calculated. The Netflix fallout wasn't a setback for her, it was the perfect setup for her next act. She'd already started pitching the podcast under the title Hollywood Unmasked. The sales pitch? A raw, unfiltered journey into the lies, gatekeeping, and hypocrisy of the entertainment industry. And those emotional outbursts she recorded? Now they were exclusive content. Her strategy was genius in a messy kind of way. Step 1, Let with Love, Meghan Season 2 release. Step 2, stay silent during the rollout. Let Netflix's silence fuel the mystery. Step 3, weeks later, BAM, drop the podcast. Ride the wave of renewed public curiosity, all while using Netflix's refusal to respond as proof they were hiding something. And the wild part? She'd already lined up media allies, smaller outlets, a few sympathetic journalists, even podcast distributors who were willing to risk Netflix's wrath for exclusive rights. The big players were hesitant. Nobody wants a lawsuit, but plenty of others wanted in on the next viral Meghan drama. Meanwhile, inside Netflix, it was damage control on steroids. Her show was marked delivered and archived in their system, basically locked in a vault. Staff were told not to even mention her name. All press about the series went through legal first. And there was a very clear warning. Do not engage with any unauthorized content tied to the company. Translation: if she drops the podcast, pretend you didn't hear it. But here's the problem. They couldn't stop her. Meghan had backups everywhere. Digital copies, external hard drives, encrypted cloud folders. She wasn't just protecting her material, she was daring Netflix to make a move. If they sued her for defamation, she'd spin it into a David versus Goliath situation. Goliath media circus. If they ignored her, she'd frame it as silence from guilty men in power. Either way, she owned the narrative. And while Netflix had lawyers and contracts, Meghan had something more dangerous: public sympathy. She'd cultivated an audience that still saw her as a woman silenced by powerful institutions. She leaned into that image hard. Her teasers? Chillingly vague. No names, no direct quotes, just implications like, "They said they believed in me until I stopped being quiet." Even insiders were split. Some thought she was torching every bridge she had left. Others admitted she wasn't entirely wrong. Netflix had treated her like an experiment. The company was divided from the start. Half the execs championed her, the other half rolled their eyes at every decision she made. Honestly, it was a bad fit from day one. But now, it was personal. It was emotional. And it was very public. So, when With Love, Meghan Season 2 finally dropped, Netflix buried it. No press tour, no Instagram buzz, just a quiet Friday release, overshadowed by bigger launches. Meghan didn't post a single word about it, but exactly 13 days later, she made her move. Her podcast trailer went live. 1 minute and 42 seconds of raw audio clips, dramatic music, and one headline-grabbing promise. They wanted me quiet. I recorded everything. And just like that, the real show began. So now, Meghan Markle isn't just an ex-Netflix partner, she's the thorn in their side they can't pull out. Every move she makes feels like a chess play, every teaser like a warning shot. Netflix may have the lawyers, the contracts, and the corporate muscle, but Meghan? She's got the receipts, the platform, and a fan base dying to believe her every word. And as the first full episode of Hollywood Unmasked looms, one thing is clear. This isn't just going to be messy, it's going to be war. The kind of war fought not in courtrooms, but in headlines, hashtags, and viral sound bites. Because if Meghan's trailer was the spark, what's coming next could burn Hollywood to the ground.